Psalm 100 from the Paleo-Hebrew Scriptures. Make a loud noise. Shout for joy unto Yahweh the ever-living. Go to him before his face with a ringing cry of joy. Know him intimately and completely, for he, Yahweh the ever-living, is Elohayim. He has fashioned us, working by labor to produce us, and not we ourselves. We are his people and the small cattle of his pasturing. Go to him, unto his gate with confession, thanksgiving, praise, into his enclosure with hymns of celebration. Cast forth praise unto him, kneel and place a gift before him. Prosper his name. For Yahweh is beautiful, kind, upright, fair and agreeable. His hasad, desire and mercy, zeal and kindness, endure unto time of long duration. For as far as the eye can see or perceive, to the edge of the horizon and beyond, and his faithfulness circles from age to age perpetually.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are on this motionless plane. My name is Noel Joshua Halley. This is the Unexpected Cosmology, and actually this is the Unexpected Poetry Night, our second annual. We actually did one 6 months ago, so maybe we'll do one 6 months from now, and I'll have to call it something other than annual, I guess semi-annual or whatever, but this is our second annual, and it went so phenomenal last time. I was really pleased, very smoothly. We'll see if we can get lightning in the bottle twice. We're actually bringing back all the same poets from last time. And Zen, Randy, Vicki, Joy, Pauly, and Pamela might show up. We'll see. She's not a tame poet. She comes and goes as she pleases. And we're adding three new individuals who are going to be reading tonight, one of which is myself. I will be introducing my poetry, so buckle up, and objects may be closer than they appear in this case. So hopefully everyone is red pilled up tonight, and I'm going to be introducing my friend, my buddy first, coming on, Pauly Hart. So let's see if I can find him. He's somewhere in here. Here he is. Welcome, Pauly. I'm handing over to you. The stage and the microphone is yours.
Cool, man. Hey. So how do I show these pictures that I uploaded over here? I want to kind of show off some of my new covers that I'm working on for my books. Here we go. This is Daughters of Demuse. I just finished working on this today. It is a novel that's my second biggest novel, I think. Next up, we have Liminal Hypnagogia and The Art of Subliminal Lucidity Within Altered States, a collection of fiction from the corners of the metaverse and deep states of dreaming. And that is the strangest cover I've done. Up next, I've got one of my pseudonyms, Polly Little Deer. This is book 4 of Jin Lin, which is my wife's first and middle name. And I wrote her just these little fantasy books for her little heart, because I love her so much. And then up next is Javelin of the Apocalypse, and this is this is not exactly anything. That's just a picture. And then I did a couple of screenplays, and I've just been putting them out there. So those are there, and I've just been, I've been working. I have a couple of books out there. I think I'm working on book 105. Some of my titles include some of these things right here, and I've been writing my whole life, and it's been a fun journey. So today I'm reading from a book of love and laughter, as I call it, BLL, and this is my book of love and laughter, and I have a couple of 10 D10s here, so I'm going to roll the dice, literally roll the dice, and then pick the number And we have a 59. And so I'm going to read from page 59, if that is okay with you. Page 59, Sky Blue. Sorry for my squeaky chair. Try to squeak. Just lean forward. People saw him and they walked away. He cried in the park. He was alone and his dog had left him. He was wearing that makeup for the special occasion. He continued to sit and finally sighed, his left arm resting on the picnic basket, and the tears fell like rain on the old blanket, that red and white checkered blanket that his mother had given him as a special gift. And he looked at his oversized shoes, and his makeup ran. The sound of crushed leaves and the smell of soap. He smelt and heard, and then looked and turned his head slightly to the right, and behind him there was a blue poodle skirt and a vision of the 1950s as she held an embroidered kerchief in her right hand, the kerchief her uncle had given her to match her skirt. The initials DMJ were accented in sky blue, and it matched her skirt. She cocked her head slightly to the left, smiled, and extended the kerchief. He had ruined that kerchief with his makeup, but she didn't mind because she had plenty. As a matter of fact, she told him to keep it, and he did, tucking it into his right side pants pocket, oversized with white polka dots pants pocket. She smiled again, and it matched his smile because he had just started smiling. And far away, a peacock called from across the lake, and they both laughed because it had been a long time since either of them had heard a peacock. That's Sky Blue on page 59. All right, here we go. Rolling the dice, seeing what we're going to get. Hopefully not 66. I got a 71. 71. Cry. Cry. The cry of my heart is to love you. Though I go through very hell itself, it's the cry of my heart to worship you, to love you like nobody else. Through many trials may come my way, I know this one thing stays the same. You are forever truly true, and I will trust in you. Okay. I've written, I think some of my best poems were when I got divorced, but these are what I call my grandmother's safe poems. And so all my grandmothers love these poems. And so they're just good, wholesome poems. Where we're going to get a 16, not a 61 because the blue is first. 16. One Christ. 50 stout warriors clad in mail, all wielding swords, waiting to prevail. 100 warriors riding their awesome beasts of war, lances, shields, and armor shining they adorn. 1,000 archers set in an impregnable fort, piercing careless soldiers finding game to sport. 10,000 chariots gleaming, 10,000 riders strong, an army in an army, so great along the throng. 1,000,000 footmen ready with sword and shield and mail, all waiting for their death that day or waiting to prevail. One newborn babe, a precious boy, not a mighty man at all. One God, one man, one Christ the Lamb stands more powerful than all. All right, I'll do that for myself since I can't see or hear any of you. I feel alone on the stage, looking to my right and my left. I hear naught but crickets. All right, rolling the dice again. And this time, I think I'm going to go orange before blue. We're going to do orange first, just to mix things up. And I got a 03, so that means page 3. Page 3 is the dedication. So you get to hear the dedication. This book is dedicated to Jennifer Hart on her 27th birthday. You're awesome, baby, and I love you with all of my heart. H-A-R-T. That's my last name, baby. Rolling again. 19. Orange again is first. Orange has the initiative. Lover of love. That's redundant. You are the sweetness in the murkiness of my day. Your smile is a light to my dreary way. The light from your eyes gives power to my step. Your energy brings up from my soul life like water. I love you, my dear, like you no other. My best friend, true heart, desire so pure, thoughts so warm, melting in my mind when it comes upon the storm to dwell in the furnace of your ardent desire. Deep, so deep is your love. Leviathan deep is your love. My wide, so wide, cosmonaut wide. Our loves blend, twist, and twirl, and swirl in a rainbow of smiles and faces and happy dancing feet. We mesh, we mold, come together in hand in glove fit. We are one, we have one, we won one. How I long to lace and weave myself in the fabric of your inner want. I grow and lean and learn inside your mind and know always learning. I love your mind, your soul together spun with mine forever twine. Hey. All right, we're going to do blue first. Blue is the 1d10. Orange is the other d10. And I've got an 86. Friends, I have sad news. For this book does not go to page 86. It goes to page 81. So therefore we shall reverse that and go to 68, which is fine, I suppose, because I do not knows. 68. Now, okay, here we go. This is called poetic license. Someone out there in the 1700s wrote a poem called The Cow Path, and I have no idea. I've looked. Maybe you guys can help me find it. I've looked for The Cow Path. I cannot find the author of The Cow Path. However, I have rewritten The Cow Path, and it's a really great lesson, and I've introduced it and said I don't know who the original one is, but I have taken it and I've reworded it, and now it's still a great lesson. So this is called The Cow Path, and it's actually page 68 and page 69. Drink of water. One fine day through the wood, a cow walked home as cows often should. He made a path all bent askew, a crooked path, as all cows do. Since that time, 400 years past, the cow, now dead, created this path, but still behind he left his trail, and on that note I'll hang my tail. And so time fled, as time should do, these wandering the path, these wandering few, from dog to sheep and traveler late, the path did grow and trail did make. And many a man wandered out and dodged and turned and bent about. They muttered dark curses full of wrath because it was a crooked path. They fought, then a forest then became a lane. Horse then buggy made it plain. The years passed on, the swiftest of feet, and that lane did become a street. 100,000 souls were led by one poor cow 4 centuries dead. From path to trail to road to street, now bustling was this way with feet. For a moral lesson doth this teach, were I ordained and called to preach. Simple men repeat things already done. They only do what others have done. The Cow Path. Author unknown. Revisited by Pauly Hart. All right, here we go. Again, Love and Laughter, the book of Love and Laughter. You can find all my books at paulyhart.com. That's PAULYHRT.com. Look down at my name right there, right here, and just put in a .com. You'll find it there. Here we go. A 27. 27. I'm not old. I apologize for calling you woman. Look, what I object to is you automatically treat me like an inferior. Josh. They called him Josh because he was just a kid, and he had eyes like, he had a mop of black curly hair, just like our mom did, but his eyes. He was my brother, and we were raised together, but his eyes. He liked to be by himself a lot, always seeming to be thinking and dreaming, and he had beautiful eyes. When he smiled at you, you couldn't help to smile back. His eyes were full of fire and love. I loved him with all of my soul, but they killed him at 33 years old. And I can still see his eyes filled with peace and forgiveness underneath those thorns. Yes, I can still see those eyes, and they tell the whole story. Dice, roll, natural 20. Let's see, I've got either a 91 or a 19. Not gonna do 91. I'm gonna do the 19. I already did 19. That was Lover of Love. And you're not going to hear it again because I'm not that way. Roll again. All right. 21. Cool. 2 pages over. 21. And here we go. Everywhere I go, someone knows your name. Everywhere I go, I find your eyes. Everywhere I go, I see your peace. Everywhere I go, you shine like stars. Every person I meet needs your life. Every idea I thought guides me to you. Every theory unproven proves your justice. Every trader you catch trades you for silver. Every moth that flies does so by your grace. Every rabbit that lives does so on your prairie. Every owl that sees does so with your eyes. Every woman that pains give birth to your love. Every framer that frames is only for art. Every potter that spins, if only for water. Every candle maker is only for light. Every thief that steals only for money. Every creation bears your name, save one. Man bears your birthmark. Here we go. I don't know why people do that. I got a 33. A 33. How apt. This, okay. I was 16. This is the first poem I ever wrote. I was sitting there at see, I've got my Camp Tecumseh YMCA. I love summer camps, and I was sitting at Omega Ranch in Scott City, Kansas. And I said, I could write you a poem. And the girl says, no. I said, yeah, I can write you a poem. So I got a pen and a paper and wrote her this poem. And it came out in one foul, just fell swoop. Bam, there's the poem. It's been edited a couple of times, but this is my first poem, and it's an oldie but a goodie. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, gather round. Breath of God. As dawn breaks the new day, skips over the cloud tops breathing. How can you breathe? I ask the day. I breathe because the Lord has first breathed me. As morning wakes, the meadowlark sing his morning song of happiness and joy. How can you sing? I ask the lark. I sing because the Lord has first sung me. As the sun rays shine, the morning dew shines itself down upon me. How can you shine? I ask the dew. I shine because the Lord has first shown me. And as night falls, I, already asleep in my bed, forget the beauty the Lord gives each day. How could I have forgotten? I ask the Lord. You forgot because you first forgot me. But still on me, the Lord breathes, sings, and shines. That's called Breath of God, page 33. All right, and I think it's 7:18, and I've got till 7:20, so we've got time for one good roll. $23 or $32. 23 or 32. I didn't really call which I was going to do first. So let's check out 23 first. You know what? So because I got this poem for 23, I'm going to go ahead and read 23 and 32, and I'm going to hand it back to Noel Joshua Hadley, who's just a wonderful guy. And if you haven't been to theunexpectedcosmology.com, what are you waiting for? Go for it. When life seems to drag you down and life's problems make you drown, then you should always look around and go for it. In its simple way, questions never do obey, so you look around and say, I'll go for it. When life's decisions pass you by and all time does is fly, don't you fret and don't you cry, go for it. And when seeing is not believing, just go for it. And with that apt lesson, which I am going to just take, I will page 32, go to page 32, retire the dice because this is our last journey, and read this, and then I bid you adieu, and I will see you at paulyhart.com, or again, paulyhart.com. On high, within life's sweetest melody, and in the finest harmonies, the birds and angels sweetly sing, you are enthroned. For in the mountaintops that boast gold, and in the valleys yet untold, all upon those crags and cliffs so bold, you are enthroned. The sweetest nectar I could taste, the fairest maiden I'd embrace, could never try to take the place of you enthroned. For upon life's long melody, and on last valleys that none see, there could be no sweeter nectar be than you enthroned. My name is Pauly Hart. I've been reading from Book of Love and Laughter. This is one of about 12, I think, poetry books that I've put, and you can find me on paulyhart.com, paulyhart.com. You can also find me on amazon.com, right next to this guy, Noel Joshua Hadley. And you can actually read some of my stuff for free on theunexpectedcosmology.com, because this guy, dressed in red, sitting in his butler's chair, so very handsome, has been such a gracious host. And with that, I bid you adieu. Good night. God bless. Remember, do your best. Pray that it's blessed. Don't be stressed. Just rely on him for rest, and he will take care of the rest. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pauly. I never have a good night rest. I know it's close to that time for you. I never took you for a gambling man, so that was a lot of fun.
Wait. What are you talking? These are dice for gamers. This is a D20.
Oh, gamer dice.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I knew you were a gamer, so okay. Forgive me.
I've written games. I'm a published author of games. Gambling. So I actually do like to invest, and there's gambling, there's speculation, there's investing, and I've done all three. I gambled on Bitcoin and I made 800% ROI. So, but I don't like to gamble. But thank you. God bless you. Good night.
All right. Well, and he steps off stage, and thank you, Pauly. We'll do this again. Before I bring on the next individual, and I'm letting you know, Carly, you're coming on next in about 5 minutes or so. So if you want to prepare yourself to come up, Yeah, so if you guys don't know that we have launched here what Rakia, as I call it, and this is where I am encouraging people from the community, or anyone can send in their poems, and I will read them and perhaps select them to be published. And we're hoping soon, maybe this year, to get our first. I don't know if it's going to be a chapbook. It might be thicker than that. First book of collected poems from all the different poets who have since in their work. And like I said, I'll be premiering mine later tonight. I wanted to read to you from a couple other poets that I greatly admire. And I don't know if you can see this right here. This is Billy Collins. I went and saw him a couple of times in person, and he even signed this book here to Noel from Billy. He is a poet laureate of he was from I think it was like 2002 to 2003 or whatever, of the United States of America. And I was thinking about Billy this last week because I live in the state of South Carolina, and it is if you look at a map right now of all the U.S. states where people are leaving in mass or moving in mass, California, of course, there's a mass exodus out of California. Everyone wants out of there. You can't blame them. But a lot of them are moving. I think South Carolina right now is the state where the most are moving into. And I think like 1 million people recently have moved into South Carolina. And the infrastructure here isn't really great for it. It's very swampy land. This is the low country. So a lot of houses on stilts and kind of winding roads through swamps. So they're all kind of spread out. But one thing I noticed recently is that all these new developments going up, they're named after animals, and they're named after the lands that used to be here. In fact, I'm on Otranto Plantation. A lot of people don't know this. I live on a former slave plantation. I can look right out my window there, and those were the rice fields right now. Now it is dammed up, and it's a water reservoir. It's an alligator preserve, but the plantation home is right behind me, and this is one of the surviving slave homes as well. There are neighbors, and so we're named after this. But this is a poem that Billy wrote back in the day, and I think this still rings true to what is happening all across America. He started observing that these, just as I described it, these communities are being built or named after the very places that they burrowed over, the animals they ran out. This is what he says. All I do these drawn out days is sit in my kitchen at Pheasant Ridge, where there are no pheasants to be seen. And last time I looked, no ridge. I could drive over to Quail Falls and spend the day there playing bridge. But the lack of a falls and the absence of quail would only remind me of Pheasant Ridge. I know a widow at Fox Run and another with a condo at Smoky Ledge. One of them smokes and neither can run, so I'll stick to the pledge I made to Medge, who frightened the fox and bulldozed the ledge. I ask in my kitchen at Pheasant Ridge. All right, so here's another, of course, poet that I love. If you can see right, let's see, I'll open this up here. I don't want to lose my place in this book. Yes, I'm reading out of physical copies. This is Mr. Robert Frost, the one and only. Of course, he spoke at Kennedy's inauguration. Famously, he died soon after. And what's interesting about Kennedy is that, as everybody knows, I'm going to be later on tonight, I'm going to be red pilling you, but as everybody knows, Kennedy wanted to get to the moon. He made the challenge before the end of the decade, and then we ended up with the Apollo 11 moon landing. And Robert Frost was highly, highly skeptical of space, the whole space race, the race to the moon. And his last book he wrote was almost all about just criticizing the Mercury missions and the up and coming Apollo missions. He would put very provocative lines in there, like, must the firmament soften so that you guys can do this? It's almost like he knew. And he was very schooled in ancient mythology and understood cosmology. Here's a poem he wrote about television. So again, this is like what, 1962 2-ish or the roundabout. He calls this 4-room shack. 4-room shack aspiring high with an arm of scrawny mast for the visions in the sky that go blindly pouring past, in the ear and in the eye. What you get is what you buy. Hope you're satisfied to last. And what's interesting here is he's talking about this kind of augmented reality, that's something you can only experience through the television. If you think about that, the Copernican revolution can only be experienced through your television, your computer screen, or something like that. Which brings us into his following poem. It's called "But Outer Space," and this really expresses his total disdain for the race into space against the Soviet Union. But outer space, and let me start this again. But outer space, at least this far, for all the fuss of the populace, stays more popular than populous. All right. Carly, are you ready to come on? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. She gave me her thumbs up. I'm going to bring her up. I don't normally do this. I let my hair down for you guys tonight. So I guess I'm letting my soul out, so to speak. So Carly, thank you for being here tonight. I understand that, of course, Carly has been premiering or giving her work, publishing our work through us at Rakia. You can find it there. And I love her poems. I think we put up a couple by this point. So, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you for being here. It's all yours.
Right. Yeah, great to be here. Hope you don't mind the nature sounds in the background, because my roosters like to hang out right by the window that I'm at. I think they do it just to annoy me. But hey, that's life. We can appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to read some poetry from myself and some from my offspring. I challenged them to write some poetry this last year, and I think they did a fantastic job. So this first one is called "Before the Breaking." In the stillness of the in-between, before the sun has exited his chambers, the soft flow of gray, the anticipation of possibility. Birds calling for the dawn, knowing not what it will bring, but dutifully releasing the sound in agreement with the perpetual motion of life. Laying there in the drift, the back and forth of breath, of prayer, feeling the tug towards fear or love, worry or peace, resentment or acceptance, dominion or surrender. The hour of holiness is fleeting yet eternal, and life finds pause in the space before the breaking. Every time we read poetry out loud together as a family, we always do the snaps afterwards. So, okay. This next one is called "Tiny Bundles of Glory." The smell of soft skin pressed up against mine, the deep sigh of contentment in the simplicity of sustenance. Chubby limbs crawling away, hiding under a pillow, a new discovery of delight. Bright white teeth, sharp and fresh, give this tiny smile new dimension. The cries in the night, wondering why. When will sleep come? How many hours on a stretch? 4 on a good night, 2 at the least, but any feels nice. A season of life, a vapor, a breath, but oh, to breathe in the scent of it and to bask in its fleeting glory. That was Uriel Koa, everyone, just making his debut. All right, this next one is called "The Three Nurses." One should want no greater friends that prove to be gratitude, laughter, and love, and of these joyful three, there's no roadblock so stubborn, no brother set to mock, that these sisters can't inspire to flee from their abode within the soul of any stock. For their power takes no pleasure in dominance or control. Their melody is clever in moving many a troll. Gratitude, the youngest, sweetly causes one's gaze to shift heavenward and see the ordinary bush ablaze. Laughter dances in the breeze, throwing vanity to the wind, such a movement that shakes off even the strongest icicles within. The eldest is dear love, and in her wisdom knows that none can resist her beauty. The strongest stone will move. The more one calls upon them, the closer they become, and less is wont to entertain the inhospitable fear's sons. I love that poem because it reminds me that gratitude, laughter, and love are the three greatest forces in creation, these gifts from the Father. And many a roadblock inside of us gets moved with those three. All right, I'm going to move on to some work from my offspring, my three eldest boys. I challenged them this year to write poetry. We read this book, The Roar on the Other Side. The Roar on the Other Side. And I would just encourage anybody, if you feel like, I can't write poetry, you can. Poetry is just noticing. It's noticing what's around you. And I just want to read a couple quotes from this book that I loved just in the introduction. And this is by Suzanne U. Rhodes, by the way. You can pick it up and learn to be a poet. So if we cultivate the art of inner quiet and develop habits to nurture the mind's green fields, we will hear the melodies of heaven. Just as words are a gift from God, I believe the skillful poet has gifts for readers. And I'm grateful for all these gifts that we get to experience tonight. But I challenged my boys, and not only did they actually kind of like poetry, but they're pretty darn good at it. So let me know what you think in the comments. These are from my oldest son. And this first one is called Cedar. The life of the cedar is expansive. His finger-like branches snatch at clothes and hair as one trails along the expanse. He never leaves his abode or rests, even for a week, but waits every season with stubborn steadiness. His skin is sunburnt from his stay, his blipe littering the floor beneath him. In spring, he and his family smoke a very potent kind, and it leaves all the nearby dwellers in discomfort of his wafts. People have attempted on numerous occasions to rid themselves of such a neighbor, but he refuses to depart. And really, what say do we have, as his kind was here first? As time wanes and people change and come and go, the old cedar forever stays with his numerous kindred, living content as he has since when his kind first immigrated. Hopefully you all are snapping with me at home. All right, this one's called In the Stillness. Still and small is where you hear him best, in the gentle wish of the wind, the soothing rustle and clicking of the bare trees, and the queep or tweet of the birds. Can you hear him while in a cluttering downtown? Does the grinding and coughing of a car make you appreciate your creator? Can you rejuvenate your soul by sitting on concrete? Can scrolling on a phone fill you up? As a tree gains nourishment from its roots, so do we grow in Yah through the whisper in the wind. That one was good. Actually, when he read that one, I said, "You wrote that yourself?" He said, "Yeah." All right. We'll read another one by my eldest child here. Contrast connection. Praise Yah for creating day and night, for the darkness and the light, for the good and the bad, for the happy and the sad. For light is seen clear in the dark, and it is night when the stars touch the heart. All right. Okay, so this one's pretty funny. So they were supposed to write a sonnet, and I think he forgot until like 10 minutes before we were sitting down to have our poetry time. So this was his sonnet. I almost forgot my sonnet. I know it's kind of late. Like nowadays, if one wore a bonnet, my poem is certainly second rate. I should have found a better rhyme and helped out the others. The fault is totally mine. And been a better example to my brothers. I know y'all are mad. With all the right reasons, my memory is bad. Regarding my memory, I lost the seasons, so I'm very sorry. By the way, I hate barley. He pulled it off. Pulled off the sonnet. Okay, how about a limerick? Who doesn't love a good Irish limerick? This one is by my second son, Isaiah, and this is called A Dreadful Fight. I have gotten into a dreadful fight where my opponent gave me a bite. I bashed up his nose and stubbed all his toes and kicked him with a roundhouse right. He should have called that one Holyfield versus, oh gosh, I can't think of that guy's name, the guy that bit the other guy's ear. I know it was Holyfield. Anyway, somebody put it in the comments. Whatever that guy's name was that bit the other guy's ear. All right. Playing a standard single drum. The maple raps against the leather as it plays out the beats. Rat-a-tat-tat, tat-tat-tat, rat-rat-tat-tat. The beat breaks, rolls, and smooths from following a letter. Tap, tap, tap. The notes cut through the air, soar, plummet, boom, then rest content and steady. Tip, 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 pause. Tip, 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 pause. Then they cease altogether. All right. I think I have a little bit more time. I probably have until 45, I'm thinking. But Noel, just correct me if I need to get off in the next few minutes. All right. This one's called A Sea of Green Grass. A Sea Green Grass, excuse me, by Isaiah. A sea of green grass spreading far as the eye can see, fading into the horizon. A sea of green grass, tranquil and vast, clean from the corruption of man. A sea of green grass, rich and dark, sweet for the cattle and goats. A sea of green grass, as far as the eye can see, fading, fading, fading into the horizon. All right, got the snaps on that one. Okay, this next one is called Praise for the Plants, also by Isaiah. Praise be to Yah for holly with its sweet scent, its flowery branches humbly bent, its arms curling low to seat the swallow, while its teeth keep away all unwanted prey. Praise be to Yah for the strong oak, its wood of which the Bible spoke. Its trunk may house men and badger, its arms may hold the squirrel and bird. The trunk holds a rigid steep, roots keep it stable, digging deep. The jay may stay to take a rest, but the home is what the oak is best. All right, two more by Isaiah. Like I said, I was shocked. It's like, you guys really got a hold of this, but poetry is just painting with words. The Blessing of Rain. The rain plinks on the roof and streaks across the sky like a bullet. It falls with velocity and speed. It slaps on the ground, making the steel glisten and the dirt darken. The plants rejoice at the gift of this heavenly drink, while creatures return to their house for rest and a break for the day, to enjoy their cozy homes tucked away from clouds' tears. There's probably a snap emoji. You guys just put snap emojis in the comments after all these. That'd be hilarious. Okay, this one is called The Steel. The mark is still there from when 6 years hence, in the joy of the play of the sun's crisp gaze, gave the shade an appeal to enjoy its cool cover, in the play of the shade, unaware of the teeth of the metal below, that sat under the concealment of dust. It bit when I placed an unwary foot in the mouth of the jagged shards. The steel did not win, and the wound was healed, but the mark is still there from when 6 years hence, in the play of the shade, the steel bit the heel. I think that one I challenged them to write a poem about an experience that they had. So when he cut his heel with the steel. That one was a good one. Okay, let me see. I think I have time for maybe one more, maybe two more. Randy, I wish I had a bongo drum and a cigarette. That's hilarious. I always think of the beatniks when I think of poetry, so we do the snaps. I got a little history lesson in there too. Okay, I'll read two more. This one is called Arrows. and this is by moi. Praise Yah for sticky faces, runny noses, loud mouths, and every minute none is wasted. Praise Yah for chubby feet, a fistful of wildflowers, and sloppy kisses, oh so sweet. Praise Yah for random scribbles on walls, floors, and mugs, mud balls, abandoned socks, and giggles. Praise Yah for deep sighs and bickering and squabbles that teach us all more patience and expose our inner troubles. Praise Yah for seasons of heartache, as painful as it may be, for lessons learned and experiences made, like gold refined in me. Praise Yah for mighty arrows, may their aim be sure and true, but for today and tomorrow, I'm grateful for everyone with you. All right. One more? We can do one more. Actually, I did not really want to share this when I was looking through all my old notebooks. I was telling Noel when we were connecting about writing months ago, I said, whenever I go, however long, that may be from now, they're just going to find notebooks all over my house, all over my car, all over my office, all over everywhere, just full of random things. So looking over some of my notebooks, this one was from 2021. And I just felt like y'all said share it. So I'm going to share it. Breathing heavy, overwhelmed, shaking, quaking under the weight of this great love. Reawaken my heart to the first and second command. Use my emotions as a weapon of mass restoration for the kingdom. Oh, the love of my King, staring out at a gem-laden ceiling, a chamber of our very own within my own heart. A cottage of retreat and revelation. Oh, the depths of being echad. We are one, we are one, we are one. All glory to my beloved, like a sachet of myrrh against my heart, the one who died to live inside of me. Oh, let me not neglect this secret place, the garden enclosed. I breathe you in, I drink deeply of your love. All right, and there you have it, folks. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Carly. That was awesome with the finger snapping. And who wrote the comment in there that all homeschoolers should have a snap class? So I'm not going to even try to replicate that. That was great. So thank you, Carly.
All right. Thanks, Noel.
Carly first sent me, I just got rid of her. I can't ask her now. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, a short story that one of her sons wrote for school. And it had to be like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years ago now. And I was really impressed. I was kind of like, dang. And it involved like mountain biking through the forest. I think it was like some kind of race, and it was like a Sasquatch or something, and good stuff. So one of the reasons that I've wanted to do these, kind of go back to poetry, is just because of the crazy times we live in, and just taking a moment. I reflect on the Bible, and the Bible itself, it's constructed in different ways. There's many different authors. Like when you get into the Gospels, for example, some are better written than others. Mark is, we all love Mark, right? But then you have, Matthew and John. But even when you go into, like, say, Song of Songs, or some of the way the Psalms are constructed, and they're the beautiful pieces of poetry and music, and these are all things that Yah has designed us as little creators to express ourselves in. So the next poet I'm going to bring on in a few minutes, Randy Conway. He's been on before, and he's been turning in a lot of. Actually, we might Randy, I might put you on hold for a minute. We just had somebody else show up. Laura, welcome. I'll be bringing you on in just a moment, Laura. So I'm going to actually skip this poem. I'm going to wait until I bring him on. this is a poem that I read a couple of weeks ago during my Torah portions. And many of you know that I'm really fascinated with the rondeau, or the carol as it's known in England. It takes on different names in different countries, and it is a mysterious circle dance. Think of like Ring Around the Rosies, right? We all fall down, but there's a mysterious circle dance that was utilized all through the Middle Ages. And it went not just from Spain and France and England, it went all the way to really into Russia, through the whole Black Sea, the Baltic region, down into the Middle East, and really beyond. And what I found really interesting in researching this is that we have no lyrics that have survived the Middle Ages, which is just really odd. Like, that doesn't seem natural. And I found this one. I discovered this, and it immediately occurred to me, oh my goodness, this is a carol. This is something that was, I'm not going to go into all the esoteric qualities about this, how it connects us with Sukkot, which I'll be reading a poem about later. And how it, connects to the Aximundi, Jerusalem, the North Pole, all that stuff. But just listen to how well this is constructed. This survived through a friar's sermon. He was quoting the sermon to a rondeau / a carol. And I know for a fact this is so well constructed, there had to have been hundreds, if not thousands of these, and they're all gone from existence, except for this one. So here it is. It's called, the title, it's anonymous. We don't know who wrote this. And it's the title is taken from the first line, hand by hand we shall us take. And here's what it says. Hand by hand we shall us take, and joy and bliss shall we make. For the devil of hell man hath forsake, and God's son is made our make. A child is born amongst man, and in that child was no wam, and that's the word for sin. That child is God, that child is man, and in that child our life began. Sinful man, be blithe and glad, for your marriage, thy peace is grad, or proclaimed. When Christ was born, come to Christ, thy peace is grad, for thee was his blood shed, who were forlorn. Sinful man, be blithe and bold, for heaven is both bought and sold. Every foot, come to Christ, thy peace is told, for thee he gave 100-fold his life to redeem you. And this is what they would sing this in a circle. Sometimes they would do like a swivelly, almost like a snake, and they would go through the forests and the cities, kind of like it was like the conga line of the Middle Ages. And they would sing these beautiful songs about how Satan has been defeated, thrown in the pit, and that the wedding feast of the Lamb has come. And in fact, this was actually, and I say that because this was actually included in the friar's sermon about the wedding feast of the Lamb. So, all right, I'm going to bring on Laura Robinson. Let me know if you are ready to come on. All right. Thank you, Laura. This is your premiere coming on, and I'm take as little or as long as you'd like. The floor is yours. Do you have any questions before we begin?
Nope. I'm ready to go.
All right. We'll see.
Well, first, I just wanted to say that I have written like 150 poems many years ago, and I've held on to them, never knowing what to do with them. And finally, when Noel opened up Rakia to share poetry, I started to share them. I write a lot of very deep, dark feelings that I went through, much of it through my teenage years and young adult years, through a lot of spiritual wars. And it's very interesting now as a middle-aged adult, going back into those years and reading what I wrote and having a different perspective on it and getting to see for real what was going on at that time. So the first poem I would like to read is actually not my own poem, but it is one that has meant the most to me my whole life and probably sparked my interest in poetry and processing feelings through poetry. So it's actually by Ruth Graham Bell. And it says, I shall leave it here beneath this star tonight. No one will see me leave it, with only a star for light. No one will know I stood here, hoarding a heaviness, clutching tightly in eager hands, something of loveliness, something that struggled against me, striving for liberty. I'll love it and leave it, and then forget, and forgetting I shall be free. So that is by Ruth Graham. So my first poem that I would like to read that I wrote is one that is published on the Rikia site. It's called Tears. Gently it creates a way for more to follow, flowing down any way and anywhere it wants, staining the skin with its rich taste, leaving the memories and all the pain to be seen by others passing by. From deep within, like a volcano erupts, ready to burst and overflow, the rivers and streams formed by a single drop, gathering in oceans. The sight is bleary and bloodshot, run and hide, so alone in a world where no one's there, watching them fall into the puddles of life. The next one I would like to read is called Taken, and this is how I felt about getting on the school bus each day and going to public school. I walked drearily to the end of the road. There it came again and again to take me to the abyss where your mind could be no more and your soul never was. Every day I went only to be crushed and broken, to be what no one else can be and live with all others. They scorned me and tore my spirit into pieces. To see heaven would be the final day I was taken away and set free for the journey to my never-ending life. The next one is called No Second Chances. This one is also published in Rikia. I felt his presence coming closer, my heart beating rapidly through every stride. There, in the portal, I saw the sweetness. His face appeared and shone throughout my body. His eyes are like a lurid sienna hue. You could drown in the depth of his beauty. He comes closer. The sweet scent of soft roses falls off with every step. If he reaches out, I am the fortunate soul. If he does not, I shimmeras forevermore. And that one was specifically for a moment of seeing Jesus or Yahusha. Okay, my next one is not been published, but I'm going to read a couple more to you that I have submitted. The Journey of a Child. Wandering alone through a field of various flowers, passing life by as butterflies ascend in the air, seeking a destination sent out by no one, no purpose for living, here and then gone, staring blankly into the rays of sunlight, screaming into deaf ears, no person to care or shoulder to cry on, wanting nothing more than a smell of love. From a single petal, to comfort the pain from thorns in the past. Meaningless toil and time is nothing but memories created, embedded into the mind for eternal torture. No riches to give, oppression received from those in authority that do not believe. All hope is lost in uneasy storms, shaken by the waves of worthless pleasures. Look past the light to the promises of God, revelations untold given in love. Blessings from above flow through waterfalls and rivers and gather in pools mixed with tears. Taken part in the grace only one truly can feel, chosen by God as his child in a family of children. Rest for the weary and food for the soul. Pray as if someday you'll be whole. Holy through God, healing he gives for his lost and sick children. Come to him and live. Another one I will continue with is a little more dark. It's called Twisted. Destruction in reality, obstruction in your liberty, longing for your sacred soul, seeking all the cosmic control, affliction in your lifeless desires, feelings of a vicious, let me restart. Affliction in your lifeless desires, burning in the essence of fires, feelings of a vicious hate, your desolate mind inside creates, blind torment of your dying spirit, immoral substance, can you see it? Echoes of your high regression, wind bondage in imagination, illusions in your spiritual worth, treasures only here on earth, deceiving possession of your dust, wisdom in your brainwashed lust, confines on your self-belief, flying for your death relief, victim of the parasite, dissolve your thought towards the light. I think I still have some more time that I can continue going on. Am I good? Or do I mean, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Happens only on poetry night. It happened when I had Randy on last time. I was muted for him. Do you feel fulfilled, or would you have time if you like to read more, or if that's it's up to you.
I have a few more, if that's
well.
okay.
Then I'm gonna slip back off and hand it over back to you. You just let me.
Okay. All right, I'll do a couple more. Nothing, nowhere, no one. Hollow eyes show no light staring into dark skies of night. No light from stars twinkling down from heaven. No sound to hear coming from anywhere. Nothing to touch because nothing's there. Dull blank faces all around. No life to live, no place to go. Black clouds in my mind covering up any thoughts of divine. Wandering endlessly, nowhere. Lost from everything. A constant pain not noticed by a calloused heart. My soul lingering among the dead in fearless peace and ghostly rest. My gaze falls on a single flame, illuminating a small corner of emptiness. Something insane, 'cause nothing can save me. Closer it comes, a ray flashes into the fog of my soul. Curiosity overwhelms me, so I go to seek an answer to nothing I know. Brighter it becomes, and more all around encircle me, peering at each glow intensely. Hands are reaching, asking for me to come, flowing love freely towards me, attempting to fill my empty spirit. Joyous laughter everywhere, screams inside my head, fighting off this help God's given, just wanting to be dead. I don't deserve your love. I've done me. In love, I cannot live. I'm full of nothing, always wanting everything this world is bound to give. That flame that I thought burned so bright has burned me with no love. Hate and rage is all I feel in what you give to me. Go away and light somebody's fire who wants you to be there. My eyes are closed. I turn away back down my ugly hall. Nothing is my home to me, and where I solely want to be. I have a couple more. This one is called Sunset. We walked along the shore, hand in hand. A cool breeze whispers to
Okay, I think that froze. So I don't hear her. Hopefully, I'm not talking over her.
this to touch us for a moment. Flame. Did I lose you?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was on my end or what. I kind of want to be careful. So, do you want to you want to start the one from the top, and I'll just slip off, and I'll just pop on when you're done.
Yeah. All right, we'll start again. Sunset. We walked along the shore, hand in hand. A cool breeze whispers to the sand the secrets of our love. The water rushes to our feet just to touch us for a moment in time, to be a part of our memory together. Small rays of sunlight stream into the sky, creating a vast aura of beauty. Still a warmth rides through the painted clouds, kissing our skin ever so softly. As we speak with words of feeling, stronger our fire burns, and through the sunset, no darkness can hide the flame that shines so bright. Each star in the sky tells of lovers' tales that have fallen to ruin, but our stars in each other's eyes, glowing at every glance. I turn to you. You're not there. It was only a dream. And I'll just finish up with one more. Hopefully I'm still doing okay. This one is, I wrote this for my sister. We have quite a history together, and this one that was a sweet gift for her.
All right, Laura, it is frozen for us. So I'm going to go ahead and thank you, Laura, for coming on. Those were beautiful. And I know it takes a lot of courage to come up and yeah, so it's frozen there at the end. So we're going to go ahead and move on tonight. You're free to, Laura, to stay backstage as long as you'd like, and listen in back there, have a party back there with the others, or whatever you'd like. So I guess I'm going to premiere for you guys my first poems that I've ever read of my own here at the Unexpected Cosmology. I've read poems from others. If you recall the last Unexpected Poetry Night, it was unexpected indeed that I actually didn't contribute anything, but this is going to change. I just have to pull these up here. So the first one is called Sukkot. Now, this is a bit of a composite poem. It's not really based on any one memory. And I've actually never hosted a Sukkot. I have hosted many Passover events. So hope you guys enjoy this. The last anyone thought to look at the time, it was 17 minutes past midnight. And so far as I can tell, no one is eager to tether their silver cord to the transistor radio of dreams. The fire plays her usual duality game. Flickering flames pursue shadows for dance partners, illuminating numerous faces that I know. Our drink is heavy, according to Deuteronomy 14:26. Someone christens the bottle, chapter and verse, as we pass it around, laughing merrily. The sainthood pulsates in the firmament above us. Even the sea of souls is faintly visible. I silently imagine my prior life in the highway of milk, particularly the fateful moment before the cup of forgetfulness was passed around and Layla came looking for us. My wife and I must have pinky swore that we would locate each other in the womb of the earth. Someone finishes their inquiry into personal identity. We sit in council considering his position regarding the house of Israel and its status as a firstborn son. Already someone else can't help themselves but to invoke predestination. Orange light exposes a pendulum swing of eyes, but most of us are willing to hear him out. I think of a name and tell my friends to send the liquor their way. It gets passed around in a circle and returns void, which only manages to add melancholy commentary to the vacant chair at the family reunion. As a kind reminder, we have a box of cigars. conversation and wood bundles to last the week, and an invitation for you to come. All right, now prepare to get red-pilled. Trigger warning. Okay, trigger warning. That in a few of these, some of you may never want to associate with me ever again. But this is poetry, right? This is just for entertainment purposes. Okay, I'm not commentary on the internet. Actually, this next one called Back Alley Dealers is my commentary on my experience within the red pill truther movement for the last, couple decades. And it's a little biographical as well. Just the other day, President Barack Obama, see, I have to stop you right here so you can see this is, this is a little biographical. All right, let's start from the top. Just the other day, President Barack Obama and Senator Mitt Romney were two hands debating policy from a literal world stage rather than a Shakespearean one. And now this. How did that old Indian parable go again? Two wings of the same bird. I look out the trash. I took out the trash after returning from the votes, parading my I voted sticker around town like Patty Hearst waving an M1 carbine rifle for the news channels. The bum in the back alley asked if I was seeking a cure for the Stockholm Syndrome sniffles, as well as the sickly looking state of the clouds and 1,000 other poisons. Yeah, sure. Why the hell not? It was either him or the Jehovah's Witnesses going door to door, inquiring about my discontentment with the state of the world and the fact that I would never amount to the 144,000. Meanwhile, on the flickering television, CNN took a break for pharmaceutical commercials, and now they are multiplying. There are stinking men in the back alley behind my house, popping up from a trash can rather than a cake whenever I haul the garbage out, dropping Facebook friend request. They open up their trench coat and growl, "Hey kid, want to get woke?" Pills for every occasion. They've got the inside scoop on Sandy Hook, the truth about 9/11, the down low on Oklahoma City and the Boston bombing. They've got the one where Osama bin Laden didn't do it as well. Here's what the lady at Walgreens really doesn't want you to know. Germ theory is just a theory, though mostly a hoax. They've got pills for that as well. And if you're especially ready to go there, they've got higher dosages, such as the skinny on Auschwitz showering habits. I never dropped acid in college, which has me wondering if this is what a bad trip feels like. And if so, do you know a hotline where I can ask the doctor about the side effects of red pill digestion? Really, the stuff that comes out of my mouth at family gatherings, the media is owned by the Jews. Doctor, I'd like to scrub the knowledge of that and the military industrial complex so that I can finally go about enjoying my Super Bowl halftime shows again. Got anything so asinine as to make me believe in the moon landing? There is a remedy to normalcy, and I already know what it is. A steady diet of Jesuits and Freemasons from the One-Eyed Willie book publisher, and to cap off the weekend, a Zionist agent behind the pulpit. The Torah is done away with. Hallelujah, Jesus, now pass around the offering plate. Last week, they were raccoons rather than dealers rummaging through my garbage. Raccoons must be tanukis. The Japanese warned me about them in anime cartoons in Super Mario Bros. 3, but I didn't listen given the confusion of tongues, subtitles, and 8-bit pixelation. Finally, an international language that we back alley pill poppers can all agree upon. Got any more of them memes? All right, so hopefully that didn't steamroll over my whole career. So this is this next one is called NCPs. Now, I warn you that as I'm developing this book of poetry, the idea behind it is that I'm having real life character people in my life that I talk to, and Pauly Hart is one of them. And the idea is that as the world starts kind of unraveling around me and getting weirder and weirder, he actually somehow becomes a part of that reality, and it's normal for him. So this is called NCPs. And the context here is in this kind of song cycle that I'm developing is that I'm trying to figure out what my book of poetry should be about. So I'm at his house trying to figure this out. Nowadays, they're referred to as NCPs, which is an acronym I explain in Pauly Hart's living room for non-computer player. The thought first occurred to me as a child. So there I was in the 1980s, turning the television knob from footage of Tank Man in Tiananmen Square to some other station, wondering how many people in the world were, in fact, robots conspiring to keep me out of the loop. Do me a favor and look out the window, I instruct Pauly Hart as an illustration of my point. When was the last time that you saw your neighbors returning home with groceries? Beep, bop, boop, Pauly says in response. Excuse me? I tighten the contortions of my face. The average person spends 8 hours of his day sleeping, Pauly continues. Another 8 working, 2 running errands, 4 is occupied with leisurely or social activities, and 2 eating and drinking. All I'm saying is, if you want to write a book of poetry about life, then the pacing and the context of your content should reflect that. I was in the middle of running some ideas regarding simulation theory your way, I rebuff. And then I distinctly heard you beep, bop, boop at me. Pauly shakes his head. Do I sound like I'm winding down or malfunctioning? Hey, do me a favor and hand me that key over there. I reach for the clock key on the coffee table and then deliver it to him. You got a grandfather clock in the house that I should know about? Nah, I've just got to visit the little boy's room. He shrugs and then disappears down the hall, adding 20 minutes on average are spent on the toilet each day, you know. Okay, so you might be thinking, like, what in the world just happened? That's what I asked myself when I wrote that. So Pauly went to bed for the night. So I like to mess with him when he's asleep. He'll check this video out in the morning, and I like to keep him on his toes as to what goes down during the night. Tea time with Rivka and Teddy. Any minute now, my 3-year-old daughter will announce from her end of the hallway, Daddy, tea time. And I'm telling you right now, I will drop what I am doing, stopping everything the very moment she calls my name in order to make it happen, leaving my work unfinished if need be. The tasty donut and pastries, which she typically offers, are fabrics of felt, and the fruit salad is plastic. The teacup is emptied of everything but the conversation, which is certain to fill it. It is a mandala, I will remind her, measured only by the limitations we bring. I am likely to exhale after my first sip, noting my entry into a macrocosm within a microcosm and the delightful labyrinth of spiritual expansion which is certain to await us. It tastes like a rose window, I will further explain, adding, fill me up another cup of that Gothic architecture. Captain Buttons and Teddy are expected to attend. After a measure of small talk, I am thinking of inquiring about their church denomination. What is their preferred model of the Trinity? Are they modalist, or do they lean in favor of the Arian heresy? And if so, what do they make of the Catholic propaganda aimed against the Waldensians and the Cathars? If that does not interest the table panel, then I will most certainly serenade them with a story regarding Rivka's delivery from the womb of her earthly mother into the womb of Mother Earth, holding a pre-existent daughter in my arms. On the day of her birth, a burning gnosis washed over me. I looked to my wife, still recovering from delivery, and offered a confession. A love unknowable and unwritten underneath the firmament since primordial pre-Adamic times has offered me a noted exception to the rule, experience. In vulgar terms, I told her, there is another woman in my life now. Captain Buttons is a neophyte in all of this, uncharacterized by the anticipated stains which will color his crochet work. But Teddy was there for it. On his part, Teddy witnessed Rivka slip into the birthing pool. He can give personal testimony to the umbilical cord uncoiling behind her if it comes down to it. But I am still uncertain if we agree on the origin of the sexes. One derives from the earth, the other from heaven. I'm even prepared to get into a theological debate if need be. After our third cup of tea, I may feel inclined to challenge Captain Buttons and Teddy's knowledge of the divine. The purpose of man is to inspire woman, to reach down from heaven and become woman, whereas woman is intended to inspire man to reach heavenward and become man. Okay, so the next one, I'm not even keeping track of the time. So the next one is called Hounds on Parade. This one's a particular favorite of mine. This is my commentary on the book of Revelation. Hounds on Parade. Spreading my palms wide for a Hollywood committee, I will propose the plot of my unproduced movie about long-eared, droopy-eyed hounds howling mayhem through a small American town. Picture the opening act, if you will, I'll tell them. Glaziers inch across the intersection on Main Street in Elm, carrying a larger-than-life pane of glass. A painter climbs his ladder. The mailman is out and about on his usual dog-free routes, while the mayor's wife cools her trophy pies along the garden sill. School children are paying the squirrels no mind as they manage the slow, droll walk past the bandstand to class. A mason bends over wet cement with his trowel. Not forgetting, of course, the fat sheriff, enjoying his morning donut and a steaming cup of joe, totally unprepared for the radio call that will, in a few short minutes, interrupt his lazy calm. Coonhounds, harriers, foxhounds, and Afghans, wolfhounds, greyhounds, deerhounds, and otterhounds, hounds by the hundreds, will be led by a howling brigade of bloodhounds, beagles, and bassets, rolling tail deep in mud before pawing recklessly through the town's only department store. The aging barber will undoubtedly have his back turned whenever puppies run past the window, thereby going mad by days in, and wild speculation of what red menace could annihilate his town. It's about the end of the world. I will inform the corporate board as part of my proposal. Imagine, if you will, an initiate stepping out of the closet. He is clothed in an apron and a noose hung around his neck when hounds wreak havoc on the local lodge. But that is only the beginning of their assault. Hounds by the thousands and the tens of thousands and even the hundreds of thousands will arrive in Washington, D.C., in Rome and London because they host obelisk aplenty and a pee break is mandatory. A parade route also builds up an appetite, you see, which is why hounds by the million will not be pleased to learn that the Bohemian Grove and the Bilderberg meeting did not think to include a dog dish. At the Vatican, the Pope can only hope to outrun them when they fall in hot pursuit of his Pope-mobile, and a long overdue inspection of gold will soon be underway at Fort Knox. Some snooty Frenchman will be hunting humans in the woods when his hounds switch allegiances. Now the hunt is turned upon him. Every dog has its day, which is why the military-industrial complex spirals into full-scale panic mode given the latest news. Nobody is receiving next week's media script because the clap, clap, clap of monkeys in the back room is silent. The Illuminati are no longer laughing it up over cocktails when they are laying in a puddle of slobber, drenched in drool. The audience will sit back in their sticky theater chairs, chewing on popcorn and sipping soda, gleefully watching the greatest horror flick of all time, disembodied Nephilim with nowhere to run. We're talking 90 minutes or 2 hours, maybe even an extended director's cut of fat-pawed, loudmouth wraiths from the Middle Ages unleashed through an inconspicuous town before turning their attention on the world stage. Last of all, a Jew still sporting spots on his face breaks into a sweat from his bagel shop in Pasadena, where he runs the world. He closes the lid of his laptop computer as the sound of his demise rounds the corner. Oh man, the audience will howl with laughter at the start of every repeat viewing. They have rehearsed the end of the world a dozen times already and can't get enough of the hijinks. They'll cry. Our reptilian overlords don't have the faintest clue what is coming. All right. Now that has thoroughly ended my career, who is next on the list? Let me see here. I just went 2 minutes over, which isn't bad. We're keeping on schedule. But unfortunately, Pamela Glasgow could not be here with us tonight. I'm wondering, Vicki, Joy, are you ready to come up? You can give me a thumbs up if you're ready, if you need more time. Okay, she is ready. So I'm sorry, Vicki, that you have to follow that. So I tried the best I could to schedule this out. But anyways, thank you for being here, Vicki. It is a pleasure to have you back. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I love your work, love your poetry. And of course, you have many different poetry books for sale on Amazon, other places. We sell your Weary Wayfarer book here, which is a poetic retelling of the Pilgrim's Progress. I have no idea what you have in store for us tonight. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Noel. Can you hear me? I was having some issues beforehand with my mic and things. So I'm assuming that someone will pop into the chat if you cannot hear me. So I'm going to just, you can hear me. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So for the most part, most of the things that I'm going to read tonight are poems that I haven't even published yet because they come from really the darkest time of my life. It was a almost unsurvivable dark night of the soul that I had after my mother passed away and all the planets aligned, so to speak, wink, wink. You know, when you're a Christian your whole life, Satan has to wait for the perfect time when he knows you are absolutely the most vulnerable. And losing my mom was indeed that time. And so I wrote a lot of poetry at that time that I thought was really, really hopeless and depressing. And I was very surprised when I came back to it about a decade later that it wasn't quite as hopeless and despondent as I remembered, even though that's what I was going through. But the first one, I'm going to start on a light note, and then things are going to get progressively more serious. The first one is just a fun one. I love trying different poetry styles. I always like to write as many different styles as possible, so I don't just get stuck in that rut of the poetic rhythm that most of us have in our heads. So this poem is called Alphabet because I'm doing something very similar to Psalm 119, but every line, there's 26 lines in my poem, and every line starts with one of the letters of the English alphabet. So A, B, C, D, E, F, you get it, right? So this one's kind of fun and lighthearted. We're going to start out kind of easy. Alphabet. Abba, reap and glean. Beautify my mind. Create in me a heart clean. Destroy, banish, and bind every thought or passion fomenting against your design. Give me a healthy ration of holiness and love for things divine. I long to your will. Jesus, give me holy vision. Keep my taut soul still. Lead it to placid waters of provision. Make me to lie down, repose, nap on pastures painted green, orchestrate and compose praises sung by hearts serene. Quiet my mind, filled with fears. Rescind all of my regret. Savior, wash away the tears. Time will not let me forget. Usurp the enemy who hates, who vilifies souls that you've redeemed, whose dark magic infiltrates Zeonon, fraud, liar, con, thief of dreams. Yeshua, come at the trumpet's behest. Take us to Zion's hill, our place of rest. All right, this next poem was inspired by a devotional. One of my favorite devotionals is Mrs. Charles Cowman's Streams in the Desert. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. It has been my favorite for many decades. And there's a poem in one day in that devotional called Cushion of the Sea. And it talks about this place deep, deep in the ocean where nothing gets disturbed. It's this perfect place of serenity. And I'm kind of moving now into my dark night of the soul, and I'm striving for sanity in my head, and I'm looking for this cushion of the sea in my own mind. Cushion of the sea. There is a silence, a cushion in the sea, where grief refuses pity and sorrow loses all potency. There is no violence, no mortal enemy, no storms raging, no vessels tossed. With Christ at the helm of this watery realm, no seafaring souls are lost. There is a solace, a balm in Gilead, whose soothing oils alleviate all toils, broken hearts are made glad. There is a polis, Nimrod's foul seat, Akkad. His scepter cannot touch the soul that lifts up its gaze to the serpent raised upon Golgotha's pole. There is a Savior, scapegoat sent in my stead. God's Son, Emmanuel, his blood fell and crushed the serpent's head. There is an anchor, a shelter in the storm that binds my heart to Calvary. 'Neath raging crest, my soul shall find rest in the cushion of the sea. I haven't read many of these poems, you guys, since I wrote them, and it's really stirring up these feelings. And what's funny is the feelings I had when I wrote these poems was utter despair. And as I'm reading them now, 13 years later, I'm seeing his spirit, his ruach was in me. And even in the midst of the storm going on in my head, I was white knuckling it to the truth that God is faithful and his banner over me was love. And I think at the time I didn't necessarily see those strains in the sentences, and I see them now. It's funny what time can do to give you perspective, right? Whew. Okay, this poem is called I Walk Alone. I walk alone down roadways, my soul bereft, forlorn. My feet stuck deep in ruts and holes where the pathway was worn by souls of witnesses who trod this way before, now gathered in a cloud above, plodding this lonely way no more. I walk alone through sorrows, my heart broken, shattered. My thoughts revolve, repeat, and spin, my mind wild and scattered by sin and deep regrets, burning holes in my brain. But on the throne there sits a man who's shed his blood to break my chains. I walk alone through death's gate, my eyes darkened, blinding, my hand clutching a blood-soaked arm, a guide down new paths winding. No harm shall come to me as I walk this last mile. For when I come into the light, I shall see my Savior's smile. Now I walk down streets of gold, my soul bursting with hymns, tracing footprints on gilded stones left there by seraphims. The groans of my old soul have turned to shouts of praise that rain down from this cloud above on those still plodding dark pathways. All right, I think if I've got time, and since we did have a cancellation, I'm going to slip one in that I wrote a little more recently. The last poem, I have to take a little deep breath. The last poem I have not read in 13 years, and I wrote it in the midst of a panic attack. And so I don't know, heaven knows what kind of emotion is going to come out when I read that. So I'm going to read one real quick, and then we'll do that one, and then I will be done. And Noel, thank you so much for having me. And thanks everybody who's tuning in and listening and commenting. Poetry is a dying art. So I love the fact that there are still people out there that have an appreciation and an ear for it. This is a poem I wrote called Psalm 51. But for those of you who know, I have a psalm collection that I wrote with my mother, Harps on Hung. This is not in that book. This is a different Psalm 51. And this is a poem that I wrote. I work with a lot of survivors of ritual abuse and a lot of people that come out of childhood trauma. And this is a poem through the lenses of Psalm 51 of what it looks like to be born into a generational bloodline where the enemy has his fingers on you, but that Jesus, Yeshua, has a plan and can rescue you from any oath or agreement made by any ancestor. So let's see if I can read this in my poor lighting here in my office today. Psalm 51. Within the darkened fate of the womb, entombed in iniquity, there I was left to wait to be brought forth in sin. Within the inward space, darkness loomed, groomed in wickedness and sin. The devil's palanquin became my hiding place. Within the din of hate, Pan presumed to exhume the bloodline's curse and by its power coerce my soul to his embrace. Within timelines of grace, a bridegroom, in costume of mortal flesh, sleeping babe in a crutch, was sent to break the chain. Within this mortal plane there did bloom, by flume a perfumed floral, heaven's purest laurel, whose roots defy the shade. Within terrestrial glade, men of broom, costumed in the garb of war, teach the telluric core the dance of the Mahanaim. The dance of the Mahanaim is obviously the Hebraic reference to Song of Solomon. I believe it's at the very end of chapter 5, where the bride does the dance of the Mahanaim. And in chapter 6, verse 1, the bridegroom looks at her feet and says, "How beautiful are your feet." And I think that he's marveling at her feet because she's doing this dance. And I think that the dance of the Mahanaim is the Psalm 91 reference that we will tread on the lion and the adder, and that we will have victory over the enemy because we know his name. The Mahanaim in the Old Testament was when human beings saw the host of heaven. They saw the armies of heaven there fighting on their behalf. And when we do the dance of the Mahanaim in the midst of spiritual warfare, even if our eyes can't see it, we are trampling the cobras, and Jesus, Yeshua, is victorious. So, hallelujah. All right, last poem here, guys. I'm going to see what I can do here. This is called Love Letter at Union Station. I was literally at Union Station in this massive, ornate, beautiful train station. I think Washington, D.C., if I'm remembering correctly. I was waiting for a friend who was hours and hours late. My mom had just passed away. I was in a dark night of the soul. I was alone. I was having a panic attack. I was sitting on this bench made of marble. It was this marble bench that kind of looked like a Stonehenge kind of a formation. And I remember thinking as I was sitting there, that I felt like I was sitting on a tomb, like a tombstone. And I was absolutely going mad in my mind, and the enemy was coming after me, and I was not comfortable in my own skin, and there's nowhere to run. And part of me wanted people and wanted nobody and wanted to be there and wanted to be home. And if you've never been in this situation, you will not understand, but if you have, you will get it. And so as I'm sitting there desperately in my mind crying out to Jesus, I opened up my Bible and providentially stumbled upon Hebrews 12, which talks about how he chastens those he loves. And as I was reading it in the midst of this trauma, I realized it was a love letter. So I entitled this Love Letter at Union Station. The love letter is Hebrews 12. Bench of marble, cold and chiseled, a cenotaph, marking dormant daydreams and desire atrophied neath topsoil, long hardened from tears, iced over from uncounted winters of woe, a dry and flameless pyre for an extant corpse caught and paralyzed, eyes hard but hopeful, held hostage by lacrimal reapers, harvesting tears, a drought, fermenting fears, distilling doubt, a drought for dyspomaniac devils dancing round this bench of marble. Shrill train whistle pierces thoughts, cerebral breaks spark as reason derails. Bustling crowd mocks as they board cars barreling down lines of endless hope, while I sit before a terminus platform neath wraith-like strain. Last call? An invisible conductor echoes in my weary brain. One aboard? One aboard. In a trance, I glance at my ticket. One way to abyss. No traveling companion. Ache in my heart. I let the train depart. I'd rather be abandoned, but pretend as I sit here on this cold marble that I'm here still waiting for a friend. I plug my ears, hoping to drown out all noise but prayer, scare away the nightmare with melodies fair, but the soothing strains of exercising strings just sound like a shrill train whistle. Voice in my head. I felt this way once too, it soothes. When wrath was my ration and sorrow my station. Libation poured out, I gave my life to show that my blood is your ticket out of this despondent depot. Consider my sorrows instead of your own. Come to your senses. Look, your eyes deceive. This bustling crowd are not mockers, but witnesses here to intercede, to cheer you up off of this bench, to rattle you from your stupor. I lifted my head and then, gazing at ornate mosaic ceiling, a long-lost feeling returned. Hope awoke and grabbed from her scabbard a sword and pierced through dark matter, slicing vocal cord to the voice in my head. Union Station, my Gethsemane, where I shed tears of blood, but was also there 'neath marble plot where I buried my dead. Or perhaps it was there where I was raised, 3 days decayed, heart mortified, infected, then in a moment glorified, wholly resurrected. Pride pulverized, self-reliance sifted, lifted from the grave of loveless affections, for then and there, my Savior and I, once two, we became one, standing arm in arm before a marble altar, there in Union Station. That's all I got, folks. Thank you so much for listening. And Noel, thanks again so much for having me.
Thank you, Vicki, for being here. All right. I know that Randy is, I think, Randy, you're about ready to go. I know that Zen is backstage. He's in the studio. So, Zen, we're going to bring you on last. Randy, if you can give me a sign or a thumbs up that you are ready to go. I saw you a moment ago, and then I think we need to do like a bunch of finger snapping. I think he's waiting for the finger snapping to come out. I think that's what's happening, and there's not enough of it. Well, while I wait for Randy to get his video on, he had it on a moment ago. I'm going to read you one more poem that I didn't get to. So Randy, you'll be right after this. I see Randy back. This is called As Dead as a Dodo. Everybody knows, apparently, that Charles Dickens famously employed the term to describe a Jacob Marley ghost sighting. Ebenezer Scrooge first observed Marley's eyes, nose, and jaw fixed on the doorknob of his London home, held in place, of course, by a scarf. Moments later, Marley appeared as a Class 4 apparition, locked in bolts and chains, prompting Scrooge to proclaim, "By Jove, if it isn't my old partner, Jacob Marley, why, you're as dead as a dodo." Freud once prematurely used it to reference early 20th century America as a failing capitalist experiment. And a far more devastating career blunder, Charlie Chaplin resisted making talkies for the studio, famously shrugging them off with the singular line written on a title card, "As dead as a dodo." Now that I think upon it, Pauly Hart holds a carving knife and fork in his fingers. It is a rather odd phrase in popular culture. He holds the blade to the dodo, stuffed and cooked, whom his wife has lathered with a baster and lovingly decorated on a bed of lettuce. He then pauses to silently ponder the matter. Across the table, I frantically flip through the pages of a history book, hoping to catch up with reality. From the island empire of Mauritius, Madagascan kings conquered the Tartarians and ruled the world. And as everybody knows, pilgrims avoided starvation by popcorn dripping with butter and the dodo, thanks largely to the American Indian. Did you know that Benjamin Franklin considered painting the dodo as our nation's bird rather than the eagle? Fun facts. I just now read it in a book. Don't say it. Pauly cuts into the bird. The dodo is extinct in your universe rather than the cockroach. Slicing off a piece of its breast, he lays it on a plate. That's what you were going to say, wasn't it? What next? The Confederacy lost the war. Nixon never became dictator. There is only one reality, and it exists within the Paulyverse. Pauly points to his shirt as evidence. It is black with a bold white font, which reads, "Dodos never say die," apparently a line from his favorite Richard Donner movie. Rebecca is the first to bite into the dodo. She closes her eyes to savor the flavor. "You all should be grateful," she finally says. "When I was a girl, all that we could afford was a turkey." All right, that's the poetry stylings of Noel Joshua Hadley. Handing it over. Randy, are you ready to come up? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, if you're ready to go. I'm not sure if Randy can hear me. Randy, are you ready to go?
We're good.
Okay, well,
Ready
welcome to our second annual Unexpected Poetry Night. Handing over to you. Have fun.
Thank you, Noel. It is my great honor to be amongst such literary giants and talented people. And you know, I have an actual seal for my ministry and another for my house. And on that seal, I actually put a verse from Psalms 45:1, and I'll read that to begin my section tonight. And it reads like this: "My heart overflows with a pleasing theme. I address my verses to the King. My tongue is like the pen of a ready scribe." And I pray that that's what we share tonight, is those verses, those words, those things that we have written to our King. If I can get my poems to come up. As you can see, I am on the road. I am not at home. There we go. So I am doing everything via my computer rather than from written text on paper. And this is the newest thing I've written. All this was written 4/17 this year. I haven't written for some time because God took me other places, but I am really excited to be receiving something within my heart to put on paper. And here's the newest thing I've written, and we'll start with that. It's called A Crisis of Truth. The world is full of eerie places, spooky spaces, locations that make your heart beat fast, demonic seduction or alien abduction. Will we know the truth at last? Political exposure, the awaited disclosure. Are the portals real? Harvesting of adrenochrome, changes in the genome. Who has been released to kill and to steal? Whether it be fact or be it theory, there exist multiple conspiracies, all targeting your very soul. Your destruction and demise are the goals. Children hurting, children crying, children screaming, children dying. It's undeniably obvious. Everybody knows. How did people and nations sink so very low? Maleficent ideas, Molecular objectives birthed in hell, emptying the soul, drying up the human well. An agenda inspired by the I wills of a realm unseen has produced the onslaught of evil, the vile and obscene. It is a redaction of history, causing time to be a mystery. We dwell where eyes do not see, and we have no memory. Many see and hear, but understand not what they have seen. For what is today is history and has already been. We exist in a crisis of truth where truth has been revised. Reality has been replaced with a screen to capture our eyes. It is an altered state where righteousness is rare and all our lives are controlled by the latest software. We are trying to survive in the absence of justice, while the powers that should not be say, just trust us. Generations now wander in this altered reality without truth, justice, or righteous history. The replacement of the past to control our future, the replacement of reality by the Truman Show producers, the replacement of government for control of the masses, the replacement of our king with the symbol of the fascists. The heathen rage and the people imagine in vanity. The rulers take counsel against Yahuwah, insanity. Ever trying to break the cords of heaven is their craft, but he that sitteth in the heavens laughs. A day will come when with wrath Yahweh will speak out, and all will know what his rod of iron is about. No more will the judgments be unjust and wickedness accepted. The plans of men will be judged, and time will be perfected. This next one is one that actually I put to video so that you have actual visual image of the art of the spoken word, and it's called The Age of Deception. And it goes like this: we are living in the age of deception. Can you trust the things you see? Can you know what to believe? Is there any truth buried beneath the lies? Can you see it if you try? Too many trapped because they were intrigued. Too many dead because they were deceived. Powers play with the minds of men, tripping them with dark inception, owning men in the age of deception. Principalities in heavenly places probably are amused, listening to the talking heads on the TV news, no longer reporting events, but carefully molding your point of view. Watching lights above floating in the sky, so many opinions, but never identified. A way to truth was provided, and perhaps the Father now is grieved, for warnings were given long ago, but were not received. Take heed, the word spoken, so that you won't be deceived. Not a philosophy to contemplate, but words spoken with authoritative inflection, spoken for those who would hear, was a prophecy of the age of deception. The Greek poet Hesiod attempted to identify history's ages, with golden, silver, bronze, heroic, and iron being the stages. Mixing science with history, we have added ice, stone, copper, and space, all attempting to describe the history and the future of the human race. But I say we have been living or existing only because of grace. The turnings of generational cycles over and over again. There's nothing new that exists under the sun. What is today has been. Deception rightly is the name for the age in which we now exist. For folly is accepted, while truth man still resist. And sleeping fools stumble blindly through the political correctness mist. Now, here's a bit of history of man's earliest years. The words of the Nakash were smooth and delicious to the ears, as though he had been rehearsing them for years, like a fine wine aged to its ultimate perfection, and Eve succumbed to them without any hesitation. The unique beauty of his shimmering appearance made it impossible to look away, and by the same token, impossible not to hear the words he had to say. As in the days of Eden, today is no exception. Entranced by the beauty of lies, we have no perception, and the world is intently listening to the voices of deception. Are we not deceived because we are defiant? In our pride, believing our own strength can slay the giants, and even the elect become deceived and are accompanied with the compliant. Our pride wants us to believe that we can transfer into a sleeve, and great will be the fall of those who by this lie become deceived. Deception can be overt, or it can be very subtle. It will censor truth and deny a voice if to the lie it would make rebuttal. Just try and find a mainstream source that will be honest regarding vaccinations. Can the motive be discovered for worldwide immigration? Immigration is what it's called, but its more appropriate term would be invasion. How about a genderless society? Now that one takes the biological cake. The result of that delusion will be devastating when it is fully baked. Poison food, poison air, entitled to my health care, and snowflakes needing teddy bears. Medicare, welfare, solar flares, warfare, and the obvious absence of prayer. Can you manage to entangle the truth from deception anywhere? The USA was once a republic, but is now a giant corporation. Money once had value, but because of butcher bankers, it's suffering ablation. We're all enemies of the state, thanks to actions taken in 1913 and 1933. But we don't care as long as we are popular on the social media marquees. And so an entire nation has become lovers of self, and the masses are deceived. If you're not convinced that we're living in the age of deception, just look at DARPA, HARP, the Patriot Act, and secret FEMA installations. Why has the UFO disclosure been replete with years of misdirection? Are there schools of higher learning or just places of indoctrination? Can you trust the things you see? Do you know what to believe in the age of deception? I haven't touched on false religions or the New Age movement, the lie that says we're our own deity or those who fall to that inducement. Many are the false teachers and false preachers telling lies to their recruitments. The deception and wisdom of this world is the enemy of God without exception. Can you trust the things you see? Do you know what you can believe in the age of deception? If we're not living in the age of deception, Nancy Pelosi would never be an elected official, and Adam Schiff would never be a guest on the evening news. If we're not living in the age of deception, the television networks would never air programming such as The View. If we're not living in the age of deception, drag queens would not be allowed to influence our schools. If we're not living in the age of deception, the masses would not be anxiously waiting the latest king of misrule. We miss the warnings of the Son of God when he told his disciples to take heed so that we would not be fooled. The age of deception is proven through the cover-up of child sacrifice of the elite. The age of deception is proven with the censorship of every truthful tweet. You cannot deny the age of deception when you examine all the programs hidden from our sight, especially considering human trafficking, mind control victims, and what is determined to be their plight. If you are not yet quite convinced, then let me continue if I might. Epstein didn't kill himself, and why has that story gone suddenly and completely silent? How can it be that dead bodies follow the Clintons like flies following dung and all the world is pliant? The age of deception reveals the deceived through the actions and rhetoric of the lawless and defiant. What about the cover-up of ancient Nephilim, the giants of the ancient myths? The stories that have been buried along with bones by the Smithsonian would make a lengthy list. Strange sounds, the unexplained, and cataclysms growing. And in a crisis of truth, we now exist. Civil war is at our door. Too many like the feeling of being deceived. The age of deception is marked by an era of treason, and the founding fathers must be grieved. Christians are being persecuted and dying by the score, and the world covers up their screams. A circus parades through the Vatican as multiple volcanoes explode their ash into the air, and Virginia has become a battleground for freedom, and few there are who care. If this were not the age of deception, would children's stories train them to be witches? If this were not the age of deception, we would know the truth about coronaviruses. If this were not the age of deception, you would not be imprisoned for an infection in your sinuses. If this were not the age of deception, there would be no cover-up of vitamin C and revoking natural healing doctors' licenses. If this were not the age of deception, would FEMA be buying weapons, body bags, and guillotines? If this were not the age of deception, would the powers that be building giant data collection machines? This is the age of deception, so Christian, take heed so that you are not deceived. The age of deception will be marked by attacks against God himself. Others cannot see through the deception for you. You must awaken for yourself. The age of deception will be remembered as the generation of lies, when the children were being sacrificed and no one heard their cries. In the age of deception, nothing is as it appears, and dark forces are continually playing on your fears. It is a time of hiding the truth of things affecting climate change. It is a time when the unrighteous and those without virtue reign, when the sun, tectonic plates, the magma pools, and magnetosphere were ignored, an age when there has been a continual clashing of the sword. The age of deception hid the truth from us, even in the labeling of our food. It is an age wherein the people are convinced to love the profane and the lewd. History will record the age of deception as a time of false flags and false wars, a time when the Soroses of this world had it all, and yet they wanted more. An era of treason when the righteous were continually under attack, and the watchmen had little help, even from their brothers, to fight back. a time when those who expose the lies and tell the truth are denied any public platform, and the agenda to seize control is paramount, forcing the masses to all conform. The age of deception will see the terrifying rise of the Black Awakening, and the only salvation for mankind will be a biblically proportioned shaking. This age has seen a prolific rise in false doctrines, teachings, and religions. This age will testify to the time when we witness the death of altruism. The age of deception is the period of self-promoting lies from the pulpits, and those who live without fear in this new dark age will be God's remnant. The fallen angel and deep state propaganda has targeted this age's generations. Evil plans have been implemented to achieve a chemical castration. Entertainment and even sporting events have become profane, all in an attempt to show for God the enemy's virulent disdain. The age whereof I speak is filled with untold government cover-ups, and every day wrath is being poured by buckets into God's judgment cup. We have now seen generations of silencing the truth through murder or incarceration. We have seen generations of suffering through pharmaceutical causation. We have seen generations of earthquakes, flood, fire, political crimes, and famine. We have seen generations of evil rising for the sake of power and for mammon. We have seen generations being vilified for possessing an opposing opinion. We have seen unfounded accusations calling righteousness a morality racism. There are questions surrounding such things as the landing on the moon. There are questions surrounding truth while the righteous are impugned. There are questions why some have blackened eyes and are wearing ankle boots. There are questions of coming asteroids that upon the earth will be loosed. But there is no question as to the source of this world's evil, its intentions, or its roots. Secret societies have flourished in the age of deception, while Christian persecution, we are told, is just a misconception. The resources of both people and the world have been raped, and by Alexa, Siri, and Facebook, our principles and dogma have been shaped. Have we sacrificed privacy and families for technology, disregarding what is at stake? The age of deception will be disclosed by coming catastrophic events. The age of deception will end when truth at last is allowed assent. The age of deception, the era of treason, and the generation of lies are not beyond our Father or beyond our prayers, for he still hears our cries. God has not relinquished his throne nor broken any of his covenants. He will not be usurped by satanic ritual or secret societies and governments. There remains salvation for those repentant and those who will seek his face, for the age of deception has not even nearly expired God's boundless grace. There remains a true and eternal hope for all who trust in him. There remains a sure and strong shelter for those who repent of sin. There remains the promise of eternal life regardless of the ages of man. There remains for his children a heavenly blueprint, God's perfect plan. He will make for me the age of deception an age of victory. Even if you think that might sound contradictory, God has worked in dichotomies throughout all of history, and his story, by his living word, has already revealed this age's mysteries. And looks like I've got about 3 minutes left, and I'm going to close with one called The Data, because it seems to be kind of a current event with the data centers being such a thing in the news right now, and I call this The Data. Suddenly, everything is all about the data. And let me start again because I've got to pronounce that term right. We're going to call it data rather than data. Suddenly, everything is all about the data. We're no longer people, rather we're fodder for the beta. The beta testing for those who desire to program the masses, and we are just a byte and a bit that through the computer passes. The data has become the gold and silver of tomorrow, and the data will rule our lives and be the cause of sorrow. It will determine what we are allowed and what we are denied. And from the governed control of your life, you will not hide. Every purchase, every search, everything you post is continually collected, and your privacy has been revoked. The data will determine where you are allowed to reside. The data will determine what you're allowed to sell or buy. The data will determine the career you are to undertake. The data will determine when you sleep and when you wake. The data will determine what type of car you're allowed to drive. The data will determine who will live and who will die. The data has become the gold and silver of today. It is the measure by which we all are weighed. Soon the data will determine your husband or your wife. The data has determined every aspect of every life. The data has become the most sought asset on this pretend globe. The data has become the driving force of secret probes. The data has become the weapon of mass destruction. The data is now our Orwellian induction. There are no more children born, no people left. We are bytes and bits. Our souls have suffered theft. The collection and flow of data is a primary reason for AI, and regardless of the rhetoric, this is the purpose that underlies. Quantum computing with AI control is at our door, and to ensure our compliance, there will be data enforcement corps. For he who controls the data will control all men, and the data has become our pathway to our end. And that is exactly 20 minutes, Noel. And I got 3 in there.
That was a journey and a history lesson, and it was epic. Thank you, Randy, for joining us once more for our second annual Unexpected Poetry Night. And yeah, Randy, I'm looking forward to, I know that you haven't had a lot of time to write, you've been busy with so much stuff, but I am looking forward to whatever you turn into us here at Rakia at the Unexpected Cosmology, and I'm publishing it. So
and we are going to do as we talked. We're going to get that all compiled into one version, and rather than scattered like they are. So it will happen.
I will say this. Hopefully, you don't mind me saying this. I don't say this to be. The whole time you're reading that one epic, it was almost 20 minutes. I mean, it was just like a long. I was almost imagining like Johnny Cash, like singing that, and with the guitar playing in the background. But okay, all right. Thank you, Randy. And next up is Zen Garcia, and I obviously don't have visual on you, Zen, so I'm going to bring you up to stage, and when you are ready, you can turn on your mic. And I think you're there. So thank you, Zen, for coming on. I'll let you introduce your work. Of course, Zen, I mean, I don't need to introduce Zen. Zen's amazing. And I do know that Zen has a couple new books of poetry out, which is my understanding that he'll be reading from those tonight.
Yeah, hey, Noel, I really appreciate the opportunity and the invitation. And, I was out of town until just recently, about an hour ago. But I was able to listen to the past couple of readers, and most excellent work from everybody. And glad that you are hosting these poetry jams. I think it's a necessary part of our journey to awakening and seeking, and that the body needs inspiration, and creative writing is just a great blessing in a way for people to bring forth their truth and their discernment. And so I'll start just with a poem that I wrote at the very beginning of what is the new 2-book set. The first one is Seeker of Lost Paradise, which I did send out a PDF copy to everybody. So if you have a chance, please do send me feedback. I would love that. And I would still like to work with you, Noel, to put together a compilation of poetry from all the people that are reading. I think it would be a great blessing to the community and to others, and that there's a lot of very talented individuals here that should definitely be brought forth to the mainstream. So and this poem is just warning. It's the very beginning of the book. The second one is Remember from Whence Thou Art Fallen. So it says this: intrigued by the ancient mythologies, I have since early adolescence sought to comprehend the archaic mysteries, which veiled as fairy tale and fantasy exposed the antiquated story of how the insurgent angels rebelled against their maker. Contained within the misconstrued legends are forgotten narratives of how giants derived from the rape of earthly women when the fallen angels took wives of all which they chose. It is still little comprehended that the seed of the serpent, the Canaanites, that they are the children of Samael, the arch nemesis of Elohim and humanity. Having studied the primordial sources, I have made it my life's mission to decrypt the ancient prophecies related to how the embittered war between the seed of Elohim and the fruit of the dragon led us to where we are now. Speaking things unspoken, relating things unheard, I have for a long time now shared with you, my readers, the kinds of mysteries which expose and threat who the hidden hand ruling from the shadows are, and how they have for ages sought to keep their presence in this world undisclosed. And because of this, I am, like my good friend Rob Skiba, considered an enemy of the deep state. Know that in reading this book, you are entering into forbidden space, territory considered dangerous by the overseers of the Grand Matrix. Within this expose, I will uncover for you how the Illuminists, aligned against you, stifle our collective liberty, enslaving you in secrecy with their bridled intentions. Most do not even know how pretentious destiny cages you in birth within the mold of their machinations. You are considered nothing more than an expendable pawn to be sacrificed on the chessboard of life by the real power on the board, the kings and queens. Be forewarned that should you read through this book with open mind and heart, your indoctrination into majority opinion will be challenged beyond the built-in safeguards obstructing your mind. Should you not be open to real truth but seeking only to affirm your traditionally accepted viewpoints, leave now, as these teachings will only incite you in knee-jerk reactions to stressful, revolting tendencies. And yet, for those of you willing to open self to new possibility, burning in the inherent knowing that much is wrong with world and that there is more to life and purpose than what we've been told or allowed to know, come this way, you seekers of lost paradise, those of you pursuing answer for the lost oracles bound in ancient riddles are held by your own soul's knowing. I offer you freely a path to new discovery, remembrance of who you are and once were in the grander scheme of things. For the seeker of lost paradise may seem a fool to those that have never sought the other worlds. This is a poem called Professional Disregard. It's from one of the 2 book sets, the new ones. It says this: what if all we thought we knew of truth was sequestered upon lies, carefully manufactured deceit, and confounding algorithms and speculative assumptions never meant to be confirmed or understood? The grand deception as matrix is all-encompassing, consuming, and broad-reaching, yet so covert in imposition, it is largely stealthily unnoticed, consuming the minds of those born into its nurturance. The programmed assimilation is so subtle, one never even realizes they were denied choice to deviate from its forced indoctrination. Those caught up in the widespread net are most unknowingly raised as slaves, incarcerated by its finite machination. Attempting to expose the riddle of its propensity, I am speaking truly, if not truthfully, about lost things in lost places with lost words in a lost song, and somehow hoping to bring it to be found. This next poem is called Remember from Whence Thou Art Fallen. We were once angels, swift and strong, witness to the grand unfolding, established initially as earthly foundation for the heavens, which were extended as curtain above the greater mystery. When it comes to the enigma of election, all have equal chance to unseal every abstruse consideration, memorialized in scroll by the efforts of the ancient scribes. Though much has eluded many prophets and kings, in you dwells the memory, the knowledge of how the word of the Lord, by and through wisdom, the Ruach HaKodesh, sang the Genesis creation into manifest being. We are called to more than the expectations of this world, and though it's been little season since we've entertained the sunshine of higher spaces, no remedy can replace the intrigue of such wonder. No matter their attempts to hide the truth from those yielding in fullness to greater calling, Yahuwah always finds way to shepherd his flock, protecting us and them from the ravening wolves encircling the lands for coordinated attack and rabid slaughter. Safe passage barred, Yah will split the sea, divulging escape to advance new beginning for those who will later pass on the privy riddles preserved by the prophets, but beholden by few. If you find yourself reading this now, you, my friend, have been tasked by Yah to be a watchman, a watchwoman on the wall. And as a keeper of the secrets, you must guard and reveal those mysteries, christened for this appointed hour. We must deliver once common prophecy to the people of this time, for we are the fig tree generation, born into the season of its bloom. This next poem is called The Turning Point for America. And I wrote this right after Charlie Kirk was shot. And it's in honor of him and his work. And it says this: the wokest liberal left has been diligently seeking to silence broadcasters like Charlie Kirk, who for a long while have shared real answers to real questions while also providing platform for real debate. Labeled lunatic fringe, social commentators are in this day and age having their voices squashed, their rants eradicated, and work destroyed by those paid to sway in regulation the wide outreach of cyber opinions, encouraging fanatical response to bold Christian influencers. Yahushua told us that in the time of the end, believers would be killed for his namesake, and that faith-driven members of the body of Christ capable of discerning common sense truths largely ignored by the radical left, that we would be targeted for extermination. The establishment maintains that fidelity is a hateful rhetoric which should be targeted for destruction when refuting the hate filled gibberish that conservatives are fascists for simply wanting to secure the borders, to defund illegal immigration, to deport dangerous cartel, gang, affiliated criminals, and to protect the innocent unborn babies, while also eradicating woke policies from schools and government, protecting students and the public, while also prioritizing American workers, citizens, manufacturing, and jobs. The Democratic leaders, hating MAGA, the Make America Great Again loyalists, are teaching their base that assassinations are a necessary evil to restore and maintain the balance of political power in this country and across the world. Christ told us that the Pharisees, antagonizing him and conspiring his murder, were then and even now the murderers of the prophets. Conservative voices like Charlie Kirk's have been for decades now indicted under the psycho banner of conspiracy theorists. My work, like Charlie's, has been suppressed in demonetization, my videos deleted in restriction, and broadcasts purged in similarity by the large overreach of corporate censorship dominating platforms like Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Denying at all costs any supposition, contradicting their opinions, and hating anyone who shines the light on our collective social confinement. Isn't it sad how predominantly ignorant many on the left are as to the nature of the controllers employed to groom them into supporting such radical mindset as if it's noble to slaughter human beings for simply voicing their opinions? The mainstream media says that Charlie Kirk was dangerous because of his willingness to debate in open forum anyone with anything to say about essentially anything. Whereas the Democratic wokest transliberal left, supporting the murders of others, are quick to post socially their celebrated glee that Charlie's family was destroyed and that he is gone from the world. It's so odd to me how many progressives unwilling to honor, hear, or listen, or engage anyone that contradicts their assimilated stance on what they believe to be truth, that they support the vigilante murder of those simply speaking their minds. Not only are they unwilling to condemn such behavior, they are dancing in jubilance over the annihilation of this married father of two, while also mocking those denouncing the further incitement of violence, stoking the flames of unbridled rebellion. Guided by misaligned voices to nut up in weird presumption, heeding the demonic whispers, leveraging mind as thoughtful suggestion to perpetuate evil towards others, those on the verge of simply losing it are embracing the fanatical call to continue the annihilation of their political enemies, following the absolute lunacy being hyped up by the left in these trifling, sensitive moments. Is it not obvious how criminally insane some young liberals have become in willingness to give up their freedoms and abandon their lives just to harm and silence those holding contrary opinions? What America must now consider is why so many madcap Gen X and Zers are willing to adhere and celebrate the normalized homicide of dissident voices like Charlie Kirk's. Only those comprehending the Hegelian dialectic of controlled opposition can truly make sense of why violence is never the correct response or answer to the engagement of others in critical debate. Individuals like Charlie Kirk, who are willing to put their lives on the line, daring to not only challenge but expose the sinister design of a matrix which fosters civil war-like divisions, the likes of which most are largely imperceptible, should, instead of demonizing Charlie Kirk, honor him as a free speech activist, upholding him in remembrance as the catalyst for what will be a great turning point here in America and across the world. I'm not sure how much time I have remaining, but this next one is pretty short. If I have enough time, I'll read. I do have a few others, but when I reach that cutoff point, Noel, just jump in. As you know, I'm long-winded. So this one is called Septic Skies. Another slightly nippy 55-degree January day. The blaze of the approaching sun hints of spring. Days progressively longer. My roses are already beginning to extend new shoots of green. Gloomy storms crowd the westward horizon, alluding to soon prevailing rain. And somewhere, a rogue aerial force originating from some unknown base launches flights into the swirling ocean blue. A clamor of planes invades the sky, and always just prior to the arrival of a new downpour. Crisscrossing skies in a labyrinth of toxic stream, pilots and crew perform tasks without ever questioning duty. Compliant, they bombard the heavens in poison cloud, unleashing a mass barrage of toxic rain down on unsuspecting populaces once the storms finally arrive to mask overcrowded metropolitan areas. Natural clouds do not congregate in right angles to create checkerboard patterns of tic-tac-toe formation. Yet most deny what they see, daily even with their own eyes, trying to explain away the vile intentions emitted from the exhausts of these crafts. The obvious non-dissipation of miles of long trail is a confirming witness that this phenomena, the stratospheric aerosol injection, is an irregular occurrence, though normalized to modern scrutiny and meteorology. The globalist powers supporting such covert initiatives claim their worldwide campaign clandestine effort to combat climate change. And yet, the real reasons why a wide conglomeration of nations and governments complicit in engaging and supporting such conspiracy have veiled such programs from public consideration for so many decades now is still yet unknown to public consideration. Few know with any certainty who the sinister forces are perpetuating this scheme, nor how these projects were and are funded by invisible monies originating from some unknown somewhere? As to who cuts the checks and from where and to what companies the money flows, government oversight knows nothing, as these questions remain perplexing. Congress is always the last to know. They have no idea as to who to subpoena for question to gain insight and answer. Silence carries the loudest reply, as truth is bought and paid for behind the scenes in non-disclosure agreement and shady backroom deals, while people everywhere get sick from the chemical haze dispensed in high altitude distribution. Drenching people in unfamiliar disease, few know of the dangers associated with breathing in such evaporated mist as it rises from the sun-broiled pavements and concrete streets. Chemtrails are now a part of an undisclosed agenda, costing taxpayers what must have been thousands of trillions of dollars to this point. And yet the globalists have succeeded in deflecting inquiry, cloaking this and other programs covertly in propaganda and disinformation campaign, while attacking and ridiculing messengers like me. Memorialized on the Georgia Guidestones, the 10 Commandments of the New World Order, approved long ago by some aspect of the shadow government, calls surreptitiously for sanctioned depopulation, and depopulation is the real reason behind the worldwide spraying of populaces. All right, I think I will finish up with this one because I know I've got to be getting close. This one is called Forced Indoctrination. Contrary to accepted belief, some revelatory foresight cannot be passed on in language or story from parent to child, teacher to student, or adept to initiate. Instruction imparting true divine guidance must be ascertained from Elohim alone. For only the Most High can grant posture one insight to embellish knowledge in instant knowing. Certain mystery can only be gleaned from the books of life, for the heavenly tablets are the Akashic library, maintaining record of the thought, action, and intent of every created being formed by the Godhead. Wisdom is a privileged bestowal, reward preserved in the archaic manuscripts scribed by the ancient prophets for life instruction. Lesson on how to access the inerrant prophetic word of Yahuwah is the only insight worthy of reaping, for me anyways. Yet so few hold any true regard or concern for ascertaining such attainment, the reward of which remains shrouded in the riddle of mystical pursuit. Most are lost in the journey along the way, few having managed voyage beyond to the normal expected constraints of this world. Signs elusive, most think that those in seek of lost paradise, labeled lunatic fringe, crazy insane, not understanding the resolute piety of their lives. Few breaking through were ever able to return to the normal world with experience to buffer indication, signposts as to what to expect along the way, hinting about certain direction for those currently lost in pursuit, giving direction to those later in coming. We are seeking to show self-approved for the gestures of sincerity, determining whether one will glean recognition from the Most High. The stages of demarcation are similar for those seeking real answers to the real questions inherently pondering soul, who are in sincerity probing consideration as to the larger reasons of when, why, how we ever came to be in the mess of this situation, and why Yahushua must come again to save us from the controllers imposing enslavement to this matrix of control. The stone that the builders rejected will in the end be the chief cornerstone. I do have one more, and I think it's short enough that I'll just read this real quick and we'll end it with that. It is called The Seers of New Season. The enlightened scriptures read meaningless to those unversed in parabolic citation, blinding most to those truths hidden in plain sight, as puzzle for all to see. The profundity of gospel message seems gibberish to one unskilled in translation and unscrupled in proper decryption. Like Morse code, only those capable of interpreting communication sent from on high as message can translate directives to guide, assist, and direct those ready and capable of receiving the miracle of saving grace established by the cross of salvation. Unfathomable how fortunate we are to inherit the blessings ensured by Messiah, extended freely as gift to those maintaining focus on spirit and eluding the attraction tempting those engrossed in the materialism of mass market appeal. The matrix was contrived by the enemy to hide the real goal of why Christ had to be born of the flesh, taking on mortal embodiment. He, as Emmanuel, God with us, came into this fallen world as means to rectify our fall and redeeming us to himself in the facade of temporal separation. Distraction is and has always been delineated designation function to lead astray those involved in the callous entertainment of nonsensical pursuits and having no regard for kingdom or heaven. We are the benefactors of a most prodigious legacy, granted the opportunity of lifetime, largely ignored by most. Apportioned the freedom of choice, humanity has been ordained the miracle of mystical pursuit, being set apart from the ordinary, and yet most are captivated by a false narrative and satisfactory inclusion in a world of grand, illusory deceit. All right, we'll end it there. I would love to come on again sometime, Noel. Whenever you do these, I definitely think you should do them often and periodically. And there's, I've got so many poems and so many books and a lot to share. And, I'd love to keep coming on and bringing different poems. And I also write in different, free verse and rhyme verse and all of that as well. But I choose to write in free verse because I feel that each word should have the power of, just manifestation and movement and miracle. And so I try to just load up every word with meaning. But thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Zen, thank you. And the hope is to do this at least once every 6 months. I don't know. I can't believe it. I think it's been 6 months since the last one. It's been half a year. Time flies. So I'm going to plan again to do one in the fall, hopefully. And we'll always have an invite, Zen. You will always be invited back. And of course, I will work these around your schedule. I will say this has been really interesting tonight that of the several people who came on, many of us had talked about some of the same things. I think Randy and his epic poem covered just about everything that imaginable.
Yeah,
and you covered a whole bunch, and I think we were all like talking about chemtrails and stuff, but we did it from very, very, very different styles. And so this has been really fun. So, all right, thank you everybody for being here and for listening. I hope this was just good to your soul. And this is, as Vicki Joy said, it's a dying art form, and it's unfortunate. I don't know if it's really a dying art form so much as it's become. It hasn't. Yeah, maybe it's a dying art form. For sure, it's something that's definitely not put an emphasis on anymore. And I want to keep doing these just because of the state of the world and how crazy everything is, and just take a step back. And what was great about all this is we were just talking about red pill stuff, So, all right, Zen. All
right, thank you, brother.
Yep. All right, we'll talk again soon. All right, and with that, I'm going to officially end this, guys. The second unexpected poetry. It went good up until that moment when I don't know what just happened with my voice. Excuse me. You never know what's going to happen because, people come and they go and they cancel and they get here late, and I'm backstage, trying to get everything worked out. I think it worked out good. Originally, I was just going to have my own little reading there. I was actually going to read at the very end originally, and then I had to kind of jump in here and there and read some stuff. But all right, guys. Love you guys and hope to see you again. Like this video if you haven't already, and if you've made it this far and haven't subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. So see you guys around.